1965, 1966. These mistakes happen, except of course for the weather, in spite of my advice. I advise people that we should do things this way, but they choose to do things in a different way. In the constitutional review, the Ugandans should address the issue of a discordant executive and the parliament. In UK, if the Prime Minister and the Parliament do not agree, both of them resign and new elections are held so as not to cause paralysis in the development plans of the ruling political parties. It ensures continuous accountability through representation. Anyway, I managed to handle all those diversions, and in 2006 caused the government to give due prioritization to electricity development and the tarmacking of the roads. You can now see the impact. Here, this is not a budget speech, so I will not go into all those details of which roads and which power lines we have worked on. This is just a brief summary. That literal rectification, that effort of 2006, which rectified the mistakes, has now resulted in pushing the electricity generation capacity of the country to 1,800 megawatts by 2020, compared to the mere 60 megawatts of 1986. Just on account of that, the economy last financial year, 2017-18, grew by 6.1%, above the previously projected level of 5.5%. Financial year 2018-2019 will grow at the rate of 6% or even higher. Yet, the cost of electricity is still high by default on account of the costly money that was used in Bujagadi. The cost of Bujagadi is 13, the power produced at Bujagadi is produced at 13.38 American cents per unit if we did not apply a subsidy on it. After the waiver of the corporate tax, which is like a subsidy, the Bujagadi is 10.5 American cents per unit, and with the recent debt refinancing, the Bujagadi price has reduced to 8.5 American cents. On the other hand, the power produced at Narubari, that is the dam which is on the Injeru side, and at Chira, that is the other power station on the Jinja side, is only 2 American cents per unit. Bujagadi, with all the efforts, we have brought it to 8.5 American cents per unit. If we had not undertaken all these measures, it would have been at 13.38 American cents per unit. But Narubari and Chiira, their power is at 2 cents per unit. This is because with these 2 power stations, we have finished paying all the loans. We no longer have any loans on those dams. Nevertheless, Karuma, which is a totally new dam, but this time negotiated properly with the Chinese, will give us power at 4.9 American cents, 4.97. That is less than 5 cents. Isimba will give us power at 4.16 American cents per unit. Therefore, all the big power units produce power cheaply, except for Bujagari, where our people made a mistake of accepting expensive money from some of the sources. This is a distortion we are struggling to solve, so that industrial power is at 5 American cents per unit. I'm told that umeme is part of the distorters. The distribution cost by umeme apparently account for 34% of the total cost of power to the end user, 34%. In Ethiopia, I'm told that the generation, transmission, and distribution costs account will be only at 8 cents of the total cost in Ethiopia, only 8%. Here, umeme contributes 34% to the cost, just for the distribution. Distribution is taking it to the user from a nearby transformer. Does not include what they call transmission to get from the main dam. Does not include generation. Here in Ethiopia, apparently generation, transmission, and distribution account for only 8% of the total cost. And in Kenya, it accounts for 11% of the total cost to the end user. Nevertheless, in spite of all these distortions in the power sector, the economy is already growing at the rate of 6.1%, as shown above. We are going to end this distortion in the power sector, working with Kenya and Tanzania. Also, the issue of transport costs will be addressed by developing the rail and water transport. And through UDB, we are going to address the issue of the cost of money for manufacturing, agriculture, and some of the services such as hotels and the entertainment industry. Therefore, soon, after a protracted struggle for economic recovery ever since the low level of 1986, we shall have the 3 important L's and 1 important C. L for Lima and C for Charlie. The 3 important L's or Limas are the low cost of electricity, low cost of transport, and low cost of money. This is what is crucial for modernizing our country. We are targeting the 3 L's: low cost of electricity, low cost of transport, and low cost of money. By low cost of money, we mean low interest rates. The important C, the important Charlie, is the comparative advantage in the cost of labor. I do not want to talk of the low cost of labor because, in a healthy way, the cost of labor in Uganda will rise as the economy expands. But when you have got lower labor costs, then of course you attract industries more than the one who has got high labor costs. So very high prices, very high salaries prematurely when the economy is still small can also be part of the problem. Nevertheless, the remaining challenges notwithstanding, on account of the successes we have achieved in power generation, as well as on account of the previous policy reforms such as privatization, liberalization of the economy, security of person and property, mass education, etc., the economy has already resumed its high trajectory of growth of 6% and above. I even predict that it will hit double-digit rates because Uganda has got everything if all the elements are optimally used. The results are exciting. The foreign exchange earnings, for instance, were as follows in 2017-2018 financial year. Export of goods, we exported to the value of $3.536 billion. We exported goods to the value of $3,536 million. But if you put it in billions, it is 3.52 billion. 3.5 billion. Exports of services, $1.832 billion. Remittances by Ugandans working abroad, $1.244 billion. Therefore, the total last financial year, the total forex inflows to Uganda earned by Ugandans, without including money for investors and so on, just our money earned by us, was a total of 6.6 billion, or $6,612 million. This is as compared to US dollars 7.7 billion that we spent on imports of goods and services in the financial year 2017-2018. So therefore the imports are still slightly more than the export earnings by a difference of $1 billion. But this is a big journey from the previous position where we had a trade imbalance of something like 3 billion. Regional exports were interesting. Uganda exported to the region, i.e. East Africa and COMESA, goods and services worth $3.9 billion. We imported from the region goods and services worth US dollars $1.7 billion. We therefore had a trade surplus of $2.3 billion. many non-tariff trade barriers, what they call NTBs, still found in some of the member states notwithstanding. With the numerous new factories being commissioned, these earnings will grow. The exports to the region are steel and steel products, dairy products, beverages, electronics, grains, i.e. maize, millet, rice, beans, fruits and vegetables, spices, coffee, tea, sugar and confectionery, plastic products, etc. These are exports to the region. The exports to the international destinations beyond the region, our region, are gold, coffee, cocoa, tea, fish and fish products, cotton and cotton products, including textiles, flowers, cobalt, fruits, and vegetables. That is on the issue of the economy. The brief synopsis for the economy for this end of the year. On the issue of the youth, which is number 2 on my list, I am very optimistic about their future. Why? It is because we have already laid quite a foundation for them. The youth of the NRM time were first antenatally supported by attending to the health of the mother while still pregnant. That's how we started with the NRM youth. We started with the mother when she was pregnant 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Because if you don't do that, the child will be born with defects. When the baby was born, we immunized the child. That is how the population of Uganda jumped from 14 million in 1986 to 40 million today. Almost all the NRM youth are free of polio and measles until very recently, when I saw a report about some careless mothers that failed to take children for immunization and the children caught measles. I saw it in the papers. That outbreak of measles should alert everybody what the consequences of negligence are. We soon introduced universal primary education, UPE, and universal secondary education, USE, which have raised the level of the adult literacy rate from 43% to 75%. Therefore, the youth of Uganda today are much more literate, and they enjoy numeracy than at any other time in Uganda. The gaps we still have are skills for many of these youth, jobs, wealth creation, and sometimes discipline. These are the gaps the youth still have. In my many State of the Nation addresses, I have told the country that projects have already started that can convert unemployed youth to job creators and property owners. These examples are there in different parts of the country where the government, by supporting youth groups, overnight turns a youth who had no job, who had no property, into a property owner and a job creator. Through grants or low-cost revolving loans, these programs will be expanded. At the same time, the skilling of the youth in technical schools or through special courses will continue. We use both the formal education technical schools, but also the informal one, like the ones I've been running with my state house controller, Nachobe, of skilling the children, even if they are not highly educated, by getting trainers to train them at Kololo and other places. These youth will be helped to produce goods and services for import substitution and export promotion, in addition to the many internal distribution products and services they are already producing. So all these products which we are now importing, leather tanning, I want our youth, supported by the government, to tan all the leather in Uganda, instead of using imported leather from anywhere. When we have been keeping cows for the last 7,000 years, that's not good. After leather tanning, then some other group of youth should do shoemaking. You tan the leather, one group, another group does the shoemaking, weaving, textiles, furniture making, carpentry, making carpets like these ones here, processing. Why do we export simsim unprocessed? Why don't we get vegetable oil out of simsim and use the residue to make animal feeds? The list is endless. I salute the many youth that flock the worship centers to pray to God and to listen to the scriptures. That's good for the youth to go to the churches and the mosques. I only caution them on illusions of miracle wealth. When some of the youth go to these centers, they pray to get wealth by miracle without working. Rubaire Mbera, Nembiru Kotade, our ancestors pointed out long ago. It translates as, God helps those who help themselves. Similarly, I advise those who flock to the drinking centers and to taking narcotic drugs to seek for help. The NNM leaders in the localities should seek out these youth and help them with advice wherever possible. Another advice to the youth is frugality. Do not be extravagant and showy. Be frugal, simple, and hardworking. As a former youth, myself, the one who is standing here, you should remember that you are talking to a former youth when you are talking about youth issues. As a youth, I led my family and my area in modernization and wealth creation, away from the ancient traditional ways. I'm speaking to you from Raistura. This is an area where I have been active since 1966, and obviously in 1966 you can imagine that I was a youth, and I was here leading the people out of traditional ways into modern ways. Therefore, youth does not mean recklessness, does not mean alcohol, does not mean taking drugs, does not mean extravagance, because here in front of you, you have a former youth who went through all that. What I'm telling you, therefore, is on good authority. It's not second hand, it is first hand. This was on top of the political work we were engaged in. We never wasted money on alcohol, luxuries, reveling, ebinyumo, or foreign travel. I never went abroad except in 1969 when I went to North Korea for the student conference. And the next time I went to abroad was in 1973, when I was already leading the war against Idi Amin. And the reason I went to UK was to get my wife, Janet. Otherwise, I had no other business outside the country. I was always here in Uganda, in East Africa, where I belong. The youth who listen to our advice will succeed. The third issue I would like to comment on is crime. In my address to Parliament on the 20th of June 2018, I outlined the 12 action points that we are undertaking and we shall undertake to immunize our country against the crime that had spiked up in the towns recently. The main thrust of my address was to upgrade the technological base of the country in the anti-crime fight. Those upgrades are going on. Nevertheless, even using the old police methods of relying on public vigilance, quick response from the police, proper management of the crime scene, etc., the police force is already achieving success in dealing with the criminals. In my social media message of 20th December 2018, I gave some details. During the current festive season, the police have told me that 23 offenses were reported on Christmas Day. There were 11 murders, 1 victim of mob justice, 2 incidents of murder by shooting. These are within the 11. 1 attempted murder, 1 incident of accidental death by fire. That one took 2 people, that incident, so that they are part of the 11. 1 case of vandalizing umeme cables by thieves, and 1 case of kidnap, but the victim was rescued, and 1 case of arson. Therefore, according to the police, the crime incidences were 23 during the just past Christmas of mainly isolated crimes that are not organized. When I looked at the 23 incidents of crime reported on the 25th of December 2018, the majority of them appeared to be straightforward crimes resulting from fights, suicides, etc., where the suspects are easy to determine, and many of them have been arrested. There were cases of a man killing his wife, cases of fights in bars and things like that, which caused many of these deaths. There are the cases of a teacher, a female teacher, murdered at the beach in Jinja. Arrests have been made about this young teacher who was murdered at the beach in Jinja. There is a case of an old woman murdered in Kabonera massacre. Again, some people have been arrested, according to the police. And then there was a case of a man shot dead in Nakivari refugee camp, plus one or two others that may need more scrutiny. Otherwise, the majority of the cases were clear, simple crimes of fights and things like that. In the case of Kabonera massacre, the local police leaders need to explain why they delayed to respond. I am demanding expeditious accountability. It seems, therefore, that otherwise our vigilance is working. In any case, by the end of this new year, our anti-crime posture will be totally different. On top of the vigilance of the public and the promptness of the police, we shall have added the technological means we are developing. Crime will be defeated. The fourth issue is political indiscipline by some actors. Our languages are more precise when it comes to describing actions, i.e. verbs. In Uganda, for instance, there are the following words. Okuvuganya. When you say okuvuganya, we know what you mean. Okulwana. When you say okulwana, we know what you mean. Okulemesa. Okutabula. Okuseketerera. Okusanyawo. Okutemula. Now, those are very clear verbs. Okuvuganya means to compete peacefully. That's the kuvuganya. You compete peacefully. Okurwana is to fight. Okulemesa is to fail. Okutabura is to cause confusion, cause chaos. Okuseketerera is to undermine. Okusanyawo is to demolish. Okutemura is to commit the crime. Okuvuganya, so therefore the political actors must be clear what they are doing. Are you kuvuganya? Are you kulemesa? Are you kuseketerera? What the verbs are here? Very clear. When you use English, English is a very poor language, as you know. I think that's why people get confused, because they think in English. But when you think in local languages, like Runyankore, things are very, very clear. Okuvuganya is a peaceful way of putting forward alternative ideas about running society. That's okuvuganya. If A has built 100 schools in an area, B can, without telling lies, truthfully say, with better discipline and more frugality, he could have built 150 schools. That's okuvuganya now. Somebody says, I have built 100 schools. Then another one says, but with facts, not just lies, with facts. If I had done this, done that, with the same money, I would have built 150 schools. This is okuvuganya of ideas. Then the debate can go on peacefully. Somebody saying, you didn't plan well because you built only 100 schools out of the money, which could have built 150. So that debate can go on peacefully until election time, when the electorate can decide on the two options. This one is right, or is not right. However, to behave in a double-faced way, where you have one leg in constitutional politics, parliament, municipality, district council, etc., and another leg in unconstitutionalism of okulemesa, okuseketerera, okutemula, etc., that cannot be allowed. That cannot be allowed, because we are not fools. We know who is talking about okuvuganya. We know who is talking about the other types of behavior. Therefore, those who are not clear on this point should get it clearly. Ugandan patriots have invested a lot of energy in creating the stability in Uganda. Nobody would be allowed to destabilize this. You heard how the economy is growing. Nobody should expect that we shall tolerate anybody diverting the country with indiscipline verging on criminality. The fifth point is corruption. There's no way the NRM can fail to defeat corruption. I hear people worried about corruption. The NRA, UPDF, for the young people, they may not have heard of the National Resistance Army. That was the forerunner of the UPDF. Promptly stopped extortion on roadblocks, stopped extrajudicial killings by the army, stopped sectarianism, stopped poaching of wildlife in the national parks, and stopped the brutalization of wananchi. The other day I was in a conference in London. It is called the Giants Club. That conference is to deal with stopping poaching in Africa. But in Uganda we have nothing to discuss there because there is no poaching. We stopped it. The animals are no longer, for a long time, are no longer poached. That's why they have grown in numbers, elephants, buffaloes, because the army promptly stopped the poaching. Power over public finances, public contracts, public service jobs, etc., was left with 5 officials. When you talk of corruption, remember these 5 government officials. Number 1, the permanent secretary in a ministry. That is the main gatekeeper of the money of the ministry. Number 2, the chief administrative officer in a district. This is cow. Number 3, the town clerk in a municipality. Number 4, the Gombora chief at a sub-county. And number 5, the financial controller in an autonomous self-accounting institution such as a university or any other government agency. In order to check on these, we created new institutions, new instruments, and new laws, such as the IGG. These were not there. We created them specifically. The leadership code, etc. In spite of all this, corruption has been rampant. The NRA, UPDF cadres have not been involved directly in this fight against corruption in the public service. We have been relying on the officers from the institutions we inherited in 1986, i.e. the civil service, the judiciary, etc. In 1986, we could not have done much on this issue. First of all, we do not have enough educated manpower to man agencies that needed high levels of education. To fight did not need so much education. A villager could shoot very well if he's well trained. But to be a permanent secretary, you needed a highly educated person. To be a judge, you need a highly educated person. And we did not have those people in 1986. We had just a few educated people leading a large number of semi-educated or uneducated people. So we do not have enough educated manpower to man agencies that needed high levels of education. Secondly, however, even if we had had the manpower, it would not have been wise to displace the old civil servants and replace them with our own cadres. Even if we had had the manpower, it was not wise that we lay off the civil servants Banansangwao and replace them with ours from the bush. Would have been unfair to the incumbents. It is good that we gave them a chance which many have misused. Fortunately, on account of the massive education programs we have rolled out, we have a very large number of educated people that are ready to replace the corrupt civil servants. So, this is an easy fight. It's really not so difficult because we have got so many educated people. Yeah. I can sack 10,000 civil servants and replace them the same day. I have created a new unit headed by Lieutenant Colonel Edith Nakarema. This is not to replace the IGG. It is in order to assist her. There is a 24 hours call center where people can report bribery efforts, embezzlement, land evictions, crime, etc. The unit then contacts the police, the IGG, so that they handle the cases. They then help the Inspector General of Government, they help the Inspector General of Police, they help the Chief Justice to monitor the actions of their juniors, and they also report to me. So Nakarem is not replacing the IGG, no, but she's running a 24 hours call center. Telephone. Of course, they try to cross-check. And when they get information, they give it to the IGG, give it to the police, give it to the Chief Justice. They are the ones who follow. But in case their juniors don't follow, then they report to me, say, there's a problem here. In the judiciary, there's a problem here. The IGG office, there's Kawukumi. This corruption is easy to defeat for the NRM. It's not a big issue. We are going to crush corruption. Those who allow themselves to betray us and betray the country have themselves to blame. You will see, we are going to clean the public service. The sixth problem is land evictions. This again will stop. I would directly lead the struggle against illegal land evictions. Most of the people being evicted are either the elders I led in the resistance wars or their descendants. They did not abandon the NRA, the National Resistance Army, and I will not abandon them. The four categories of the legal Bibanja owners are those whose ancestors were found on that land, those allowed on that land by the landlord, landowner or his agent, the bona fide occupants that were on that land by 1983, or the ones who bought or inherited from any of the four categories. There is even a fifth category, the one who is not among the four categories mentioned above, but has been on this Chibanja for 12 years without anybody challenging him or her. We call this ownership by adverse possession, in quotes, or rather, the lawyers called him so, because I'm not the one who coined that term. I'm just telling you what the lawyers say. Ownership by adverse possession. We are liaising closely with the Chief Justice, and my lawyers will use all legal means to defend our comrades in the struggle or their descendants. The message to the landlords is that I prefer a win-win way. I don't want to be against the landlords or against the Banja people. That is why I supported the abolition of the Idi Amin decree of 1975. We cannot, however, tolerate the unfair treatment of our comrades in the struggle, the Banja owners. Seventh, I would like to salute all the elected leaders of the local councils and the NRM structures. I salute you for your voluntary spirit of offering to lead the people that elected you, and for sometimes leaving unattended your private affairs in order to attend to the issues of the population. This sacrifice should not go unnoticed. Besides, it is crucial that you lead by example. It says in the book of Matthew chapter 5 verse 16 that, in quotes, "Let your light so shine before men that they will see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven," end of quotes. Therefore, I want you to be examples in wealth creation. While, therefore, Operation Wealth Creation is for the whole population, I want to propose a circle, district by district, that will cater for all the elected leaders of the LOCs and the NRM structures so that they can be examples to the others. But in addition to being example to the others, they will also banish poverty in their homes. Since the large numbers of the elected leaders mentioned above, the LOCs, the NRM structures, the Women Council, the Youth Council, since the large numbers do not allow the payment of salaries, because we cannot manage to pay salaries of millions of such people, it's not possible. This, what I'm proposing, the line of the circle, is the only affordable way of supporting these leaders, past and present. Once a leader, always a leader. The eighth point is that in order to further stabilize our economy, we are now beginning the long journey of winning okuchucha in Runyankore our agriculture from rain-fed agriculture to irrigation. You remember the two reasons that caused our economy to fluctuate. One was the lack of electricity, but the other one is the occasional drought. When that one comes, then our rate of growth goes down. We are using three methods of agriculture, of irrigation for agriculture. We are using three methods of irrigation for agriculture. Gravity-based irrigation, like the Doho one, using River Manafa, and Mobuku using River Mobuku. That's one type of irrigation. Micro solar pumping from a water source to a high elevation, then gravity takes over. And bulk water transfer from a big source like the River Kajera or Narubare, Lake Victoria, to a high elevation, and then gravity takes over. The micro irrigation projects that are either operational or planned will be 190 across the country. So there are many. There's an appendix somewhere. The appendix will be added. There are 190 micro irrigation schemes using solar-powered water pumps. The new mega projects that are ongoing or planned are Doho Phase 2 in Utareja, Mombuku Phase 2 in Kasese District, Wadelai in Nebi District, Tochi in Oyam District, Ngenge in Kapchora District, Atari in Bulamburi and Kwen, Kabuyanda Isingiro, Amagoro, Toro District, Mutanda Isingiro, Nyimur in Lamo, Kaumu in Ruel District, Katete in Kanungu District. These are in addition to the old ones of Doho, Mobuku, Olweny, and Agoro. We have encouraged solar-powered water pump producers to either assemble or manufacture those pumps here so that we can roll them out en masse for individual farmers to buy them and immunize them and immunize themselves against the erratic rains. The ninth and final point is the issue of African integration in order to guarantee our prosperity. When we produce goods and services, which big market will absorb them? That's what every Ugandan should be asking himself or herself. When we produce goods and services, where shall we sell them? The more people buy from us, the more prosperous our businesses become. That is why the NRM insists on patriotism within Uganda, Pan-Africanism in Africa, and international trade on the basis of comparative advantage globally. Recently, we had a big crop of maize. We had a bumper crop. It was so much that the price collapsed. One reason, of course, is that we do not yet have enough processing capacity. The flour mills are few. We need more maize milling machines to make kawunga and also to make animal feeds. But another reason is that we need to export more to our neighbors. Because as we were having too much maize here, in some of the African countries, they were importing maize from Brazil. If they had bought our maize, we would not have had this problem of too much maize. That's why, therefore, we talk of integration. This integration we talk about is not for a fashion. It is in order to ensure our prosperity. When we say, please, think of East Africa, always think of East Africa, think of Africa. It is not just slogans or emotions. It is because that's the only way we can guarantee our prosperity. Therefore, in 2019, I hope to work with the fraternal peoples of Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, and South Sudan to consolidate the unity of East Africa. Additionally, through COMESA and the African Union, we shall work with the wider Africa to build the African common market. I wish all of you a happy and successful 2019. Thank you very much. Have these children have something to eat?
Yes, Your Excellency.
Weyunge ku masanyalaze ku bwereere ng'oyita mu mitendera gino. Ekizimbe kyo bwe kiba nga kiri mu mita 9 okuva ku muti gw'amasanyalaze